Everybody, I have got 12:02 now, so we can officially get started. So good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Morgan Cabot. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Division of Agricultural Development, which houses the Wisconsin Farm Center at the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, also known as DATCP. I am happy to serve as the moderator for today's session. And so, as you may have heard, May is Mental Health Month, and we really want to bring light to the topic of mental health through the Farm Neighbors Care campaign. And so that is a collaborative effort between many agricultural organizations in the state. And this campaign really asks rural residents to have face-to-face conversations with farmers and agribusiness owners. Really, for some, this conversation and check-in might be the dose of positivity needed to make it through a tough day. And so today's webinar, which is presented by the Wisconsin Farm Center, will focus on the DATCP resources available to farmers and their families that you can refer to people to as you have these conversations. So before we begin, there are just a few housekeeping items. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the webinar. If you have a question, please put it into the chat box or raise your hand to be called on, and I will call on you. Lastly, this webinar will be recorded and also posted to YouTube later this afternoon. So now on to the session. I am happy to welcome our speaker for today's discussion, Dan Bauer, the Program Supervisor for the Wisconsin Farm Center. Dan, can you take it away and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, Morgan. Thanks for that introduction. And as Morgan said, my name is Dan Bauer, and I work as the program supervisor at the Wisconsin Farm Center, housed in DATCP. And maybe to kick this off, I just want to say a couple quick thank yous. I want to thank the staff at Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation for inviting us to present today. And maybe more importantly, I want to thank all the Wisconsin agricultural organizations that are partnering with us on the Farm Neighbors Care campaign. And we really appreciate those organizations having confidence in us and allowing us to have this platform today to give a little more info about some of the programming we've made available to Wisconsin farmers over the last couple of years to help them manage and reduce farm stress. And I've been following this webinar series, and I do know, if those attending today have had a chance to view previous sessions. I think the first one, you heard directly from farmers, which is awesome. That authentic input is just always so valuable, and shared experiences. And then secondly, I know that you heard from researchers at the National Farm Medicine Center. And so really today we'll touch on that research component just very briefly. Really in our purview or our area of expertise is service and farmer assistance programming for Wisconsin farmers. So that's really going to be the focus of our content today, to tell you a little bit more about DATCP, our division, the Wisconsin Farm Center, and then focus the majority of the time on the services available to help Wisconsin farmers manage stress. So having said all that, to get us started, this slide is a really nice overview of the bureaus and the teams that make up DATCP's Division of Agriculture Development. And on the top half of the slide, you'll find what we call the Ag Promotion and Resources Bureau. And we're really fortunate today. We actually have our Bureau Director, Jane Krull. I've asked her to join this session today. And so you may hear her chime in from time to time or help answer questions depending on what we hear from the attendees. But Jane manages both the Wisconsin Farm Center, and so I work under Jane with that team. And you'll hear more about us in an upcoming slide, but then also our marketing and outreach efforts. And examples of that would be the Allison Dairyland program, something special for Wisconsin, and also the marketing orders throughout Wisconsin. On the bottom half of the slide in blue is our International Agribusiness Center. And that team is really focused on helping Wisconsin farmers grow demand for Wisconsin ag products internationally. And then also you'll see an economic development team. And they very much focus on helping consult farmers on value-added production, things like organic cropping, specialty crops, cheese making, bottling of milk, anything that you might consider, value added to a farming operation, that team tries to cover. So yeah, that's a little bit about our Division of Agriculture Development at DADCAP. And what we'll move to next is this is a nice overview slide about the Wisconsin Farm Center. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of history. I know we're talking about farm stress today, but I think it's very interesting when you think of the history of the Farm Center. Really, the Farm Center came to be out of necessity in the 1980s. So the Farm Center was started by the state of Wisconsin following the farm financial crisis, which saw a farm recession saddle many Midwest farmers with heavy debt loads as tight money policies of the Federal Reserve caused farmland values to drop up to 60% in some parts of the Midwest. And one thing we've heard continually with our experience in farm stress programming is, financial stressors are one of, if not the main cause for farm stress. So if you think back to the history of the Farm Center, you could make an argument that the Farm Center was really started to help alleviate farm stress those 30 years ago. In its infancy in the middle 80s, the Farm Center focused on building relationships with both ag lenders and farmers in our state to increase the availability of farm loans to producers in order to help them weather this crisis and remain in business. Over time, our services have evolved and expanded. One thing that has never changed is all our services are free and confidential for Wisconsin farmers. And today, the Farm Center focuses on several key areas, which we will detail in upcoming slides. As you can see on this slide, the Farm Center monitors a toll-free farmer helpline 5 days a week. We also have our own group email address, which is farmcenter@wisconsin.gov. And we have our own website, which is farmcenter.wi.gov, that will house all information about our programming. Talking a little bit about the helpline, which we will take calls from Wisconsin farmers, is some questions we can answer very quickly. Some we will refer to other agencies within DADCAP or partner agencies throughout the state, and others will refer to partners in our state, such as UW Extension or the local technical colleges. And still others we will take on as what we call a case. And a case would be something that we would provide ongoing consulting service on. And I'll talk more about that in upcoming slides. And I do think Morgan plans to put a link to this nice flyer into the chat. So we do have this flyer posted online at our website. And I think Morgan will make it available to you so you could go to it if you choose. When we look at our current Farm Center staff, the team is made up of 6 employees who combined have many decades of agriculture industry experience. That experience is primarily in banking and lending, but we also have members of the team who have experience in other states' Department of Ag and Extension programs, education, global employee training, strategic planning, and project management. As we kick this presentation off, I really wanted to take a few minutes to cover the Farm Center and our core services. And the reason I want to do that is really every service that we provide does help farmers manage and alleviate farm stress, even if it is indirect. And I can show some examples of that as we continue this discussion. But the slide that I've got up now just talks about some very general strengths of the Farm Center team. And we are given broad mandate under state law to provide a variety of farmer assistance services. One thing is we've got very robust privacy protection under state law. All our services and interactions with farmers are confidential and are not subject to open records requests. We have a skilled staff. We talked about the staff's many years of experience in agriculture, and we very much emphasize a team approach. So each staff member brings a unique skill set and a unique set of experiences, and we try to approach every case as a team so we can capitalize on the insight that each team member brings to the table. We've got a strong history of collaboration with both government and non-government organizations, and we will give some examples of that later in this presentation. And maybe the most important point on this slide is we really strive to be that objective third-party consultant to farmers with an independent view. It's something that we're uniquely able to provide because we're not trying to sell a service. We're not trying to sell a product. We can really approach every farmer that we work with a very clean slate and a very objective evidence-based point of view. And I think that makes us uniquely positioned to deliver that kind of advice to our clients. One of the core areas that we work with farmers on is financial consulting. And this is something that I wanted to cover today. Although the focus of this presentation is on farm stress, one thing that we have heard consistently from the farmers that we work with is, again, one of, if not the biggest driver of farm stress is financial stress. And so this service that we provide, and I've got some examples of what this actually means in the real world, helping farmers review balance sheets, analyzing and predicting their cash flow, determining whether they're profitable and viable in their current state, or whether they need to consider adjustments to their business model, maybe pursuing off-farm income. Another example is with the team's background in ag lending, helping farmers analyze their debt structure, determining if there's ways to, lengthen farm loans to reduce payments in the near term to help improve immediate cash flows to get through, a spot of poor prices. These are all things that the team does on a daily basis. And I really believe that these are services that can help reduce farm stress, even if it's through an indirect manner. Another tremendously stressful period for farmers is anytime they're trying to transfer or exit the business. And this is a big area that we help farmers on, is we help them have the difficult conversations with their families or with themselves to try to organize and plan for a successful and graceful farm transition or farm exit. And we're really focused on encouraging proactive two-way communication. And we focus on helping farmers make plans and get them in writing. You see several examples here on the slide. Our focus is on trying to help farmers achieve financial stability. Again, putting those operating and transition agreements in writing, helping farmers think through tax implications of different estate plans and different transition options. One thing I would point out with this slide is we don't actually help farmers file estate plans. You'll still need to work with your attorney team on that. But what our focus is helping you get organized before you meet with your attorney. That way you can come, ready to make decisions and potentially reduce, some of those costly billable hours. Another service that we offer in the farm center that we think can be another useful tool for managing farm stress is our mediation program. And this program has been available in Wisconsin since the late 80s. And to offer this program, we actually partner with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and that's where the majority of the funding for this program comes from. And we are able to offer this program to Wisconsin farmers at no cost. And again, this program is also confidential. And how we administer this program is we lean on a pool of certified volunteer mediators. Several of the mediators, ran successful businesses or farms in their own history. And this is something they do to give back, after retirement is help us deliver this mediation program to Wisconsin farmers. And again, we feel that this can be a very useful tool to help farmers manage farm stress. Another example that we see often as one of the biggest stressors for farms and farm families is interpersonal dynamics. And this could be a relationship with a spouse. It's difficult to run a business together. Also, interpersonal dynamics with family members. So this could be a sibling or even a younger generation that's involved with operation of the farm. And it can be very difficult to have those hard conversations with family members. And that's where mediation can deliver tremendous value to farm families by being that objective third party and to help coach people, to be open and say what they really mean or what their desires are that they may not be able to do, in a family setting. So really cool program that's available to Wisconsin farmers through the Wisconsin Farm Center. The last other service I wanted to mention today is we have a program called our Herd-Based Diagnostics Program. And for this program, we actually have a non-regulatory veterinarian on staff, and his focus is on working with Wisconsin farmers and helping them unresolved production or disease concerns. And that is Dr. John Tracy, who works with us on this program and leads this program. And what John will do is he'll help consult on farms, and then he'll partner with the local vets and nutritionists and service providers that are working with that farm on a more daily basis. And this can deliver tremendous value to Wisconsin farmers because it is available at no cost. And it's a way to kind of investigate different things that might be limiting herd performance, without incurring a ton of cost going through an outside consultant. And what we typically deliver is an on-farm analysis and followed by a comprehensive report and then a recommendation for the management team to help implement on a more daily basis. So really cool program. And again, another program that's available through the Farm Center to help the farmers here in the state. So now we're, about, 20% into our presentation, and I do want to shift gears and focus on a very exciting program. And this is actually our newest program available through the Farm Center. And it is considered a pilot program as we are just in our second year. But in the upcoming slides, we're going to share some information with you with regard to why our Wisconsin Farmer Wellness Program was originally conceived and launched as part of the 1921 biennial budget. And in these upcoming slides, we'll detail the various services available to Wisconsin farmers as a part of this program. We'll also share some ideas we have for future programming, as well as information about other partnerships DADCAP is a part of that are focusing on trying to help farmers manage and reduce stress and improve well-being. This slide I just wanted to touch on briefly. Again, I don't want to focus a ton today on the statistics because I'm sure you've probably heard that or will have the opportunity to go back and hear that in webinar 2 that was conducted by the National Farm Medicine Center and their research partners. But I did want to give briefly a couple notes on why we believe and why the state legislator believed, this is an issue that merited the design of new programming. According to the National Farm Medicine Center, 29% of farmers suffer from depression and 35% suffer from anxiety. And I think these are just really remarkable numbers when you think about it, that 1 out of 3 farmers may deal with these kind of issues. And I really think the key point when analyzing these numbers is, hey, if you've ever had these kind of feelings, you are not alone. I think historically, if you were to, admit that you have any kind of mental health challenge or you deal with any kind of depression, you feel, maybe like a failure, or you feel too vulnerable. And it's just not the case. This is something many, many people outside of farming deal with on a daily, and yearly basis. And one thing too is these feelings can come and go too. I've heard the analogy made, if you hurt your knee or hurt your ankle, you treat it. And these conditions can get better. And that's really why we wanted to bring programming to the market, or not really the market, to our stakeholders and our constituents, because the numbers suggest that many, many people really do deal with this. So I think it's a very real issue, and I'm just so pleased that campaigns like Farm Neighbors Care are investing energy and effort into bringing light to this really important topic. One thing that we can speak on here at DADCAP is in early 2020, and it actually was right before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we developed a survey in partnership with the UW-Madison College of Ag and Life Sciences, so that's better known as UW-CALS. And that was a survey that went out to all 7,000 licensed dairy producers in the state of Wisconsin. And we did have a couple questions about mental health on that survey. And interestingly, 10% of respondents reported they felt like they need to access mental health services in the last year due to farming challenges. So to me, this is just another data point that kind of reinforces this belief that we have that, many in the state deal with this. If you've had these kind of feelings, you just aren't alone. And I know that's something you probably heard if you watched that first webinar with our farmer panel that Farm Neighbors Care has put together. I'm sure you heard that this is something that real people deal with in the real world. So when we were asked by the legislator to analyze this issue and try to develop potential solutions, one of the first things we set to try to evaluate is what are common causes of farm stress. And when we were doing that research, we were so happy that we could lean on partners like the National American Farm Bureau Federation. And I'm going to walk you through just a couple key statistics that they found on their 2019 rural stress study. And 91% of farmers and farm workers think that financial issues impact the mental health of farmers. 88% of that same group think that farm or business problems impact the mental health of farmers. Nearly 90% of that same group think the fear of losing the farm impact the mental health of farmers. And 75% of farmers or farm workers think the state of the farm economy impacts the mental health of farmers. So these are all what we kind of deem to be causes of farm stress. And again, there's an overwhelming consensus that farm financial challenges increase farm stress. And so that's really why I wanted to spend that time at the beginning of the presentation, just outlining a little bit more about who we are at the Farm Center and some of the services we provide to help navigate farm financial stress. And I would just add to this slide, and we talked about this previously, but I just want to go back to it, is the other thing that we've seen in our 2 years of this programming is those interpersonal issues. I think, the vast majority of Wisconsin farmers are farming with a spouse or with a sibling or family member or a son or daughter. And so those interpersonal dynamics certainly come to the forefront more in farming as compared to other industries. The other thing we looked at very early in our investigation of this issue is we said, well, okay, we know that this is an issue for farmers, and it's an issue at a higher rate in farming than other industries. Well, why is it difficult to get help? And so this slide, we're talking about what are barriers that get in the way of farmers getting the help they need. And one of the big ones is affordability. And this was confirmed, and I'll go back to that rural stress study that was conducted by our partners at Farm Bureau in 2019, nearly 90% of farmers agree that cost is an obstacle. The other one we talk about a lot is acceptability. When you think about the farming industry, the occupation, the history, I think farmers by nature have a tremendous work ethic. They're independent and they have that point of view that you can solve any problem just by working harder. And I don't think it's natural for a farmer to be self-reflective and express that vulnerability and be willing to ask for help. I think that's a new phenomena, in the last maybe even 5-10 years, that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek help. And that's, we talk about a stigma surrounding mental health. And this goes across society as a whole. This is not just in farming. We really have a lot of work to do in this area of making it more acceptable to seek help. One thing that I think is a big issue and an issue that impacts farming more than other occupations or other industries is accessibility. We know the majority of farmers run their businesses in rural areas, and it can be more difficult seeking or finding convenient and qualified help in rural areas. And in that same survey we've been quoting, 40% of farmers said it's difficult to access a therapist or counselor in their local community. And then this last barrier, and this is one that we're really working on here today together kind of as a team, is awareness. And I think it is very new, I think, for farmers even to have an understanding of what help is out there and how to find it. And again, we're just so pleased to be participating in this webinar series today so we can kind of get the info out about our programming and give our state's farmers more information about what help is out there, and so we can increase that awareness and reduce that common barrier. So early in the new biennial budget, we outlined at DADCAP and in our Ag Development Division the mission that we've got on this slide. And we felt that first we need to develop programming that addresses farm challenges. So this is farm financial, fear of losing the farm, unpredictability of the farm economy, some of the interpersonal dynamics and challenges of running a business with a family. And then additionally, we wanted our programming to help tear down those barriers. So we wanted services for farmers to be more affordable, more readily accessible, more acceptable, and we want to make farmers more aware that help is out there. So in the middle box, you're going to see some information on some of the tactics that we implemented to try to achieve the goals that we set out. We wanted to do outreach, we wanted to do trainings, we wanted to develop education material. And one of the things I'm going to be talking to you about in these upcoming slides is we wanted to tailor existing services or create entirely new ones to more directly reduce farm stress. Like we talked about in the earlier slides, I'm very confident the farm center services have always indirectly helped reduce this issue of farm stress. But we wanted to develop new programming that would take those issues more head on and provide more direct help. And really the goal we came up with is we wanted to collaborate with our partners and stakeholders to connect farmers with existing resources to help decrease stress and reduce mental health concerns. And in the next slide series, we'll talk about some of the programming that we developed to directly pursue this goal and take on this challenge. So one of the big things that we knew we wanted to develop is a series of counseling services. And we felt, there is counseling in the market, but kind of the weakness we saw is that it wasn't always tailored to the needs of farmers, and it wasn't always delivered by people that were familiar with farm culture and familiar with the farming way of life. And what we'll talk about today is we developed really a 3-tiered approach to this counseling service program offer. And we'll go into the details, but to just give you an overview, really the focus and the reason for the 3-tiered approach is we wanted to have the right kind of service available to a variety of farmers based on their personal preferences and their different types of need. And so we developed programming that could be available in the moment to help a farmer manage a crisis. We developed programming that could deliver more ongoing help. And then we developed programming that could be delivered or received from the comfort of a farmer's home, or for those farmers that are still more comfortable with in-person relationships, face-to-face dialogue. We also have programming that's delivered in person. And I'm really excited as we move on here to the next slide to give you some details on the programming that actually we've brought kind of to Wisconsin. So the first thing we'll talk about today, and this was launched in July of 2020, so it's been available about 11 months, is our 24/7 Farmer Wellness Hotline. And I've got the 800 number on the slide, and I do think that Morgan is going to put some links in the chat that you can refer to as well, such as our website or that handout that I had in the presentation previously. But the objective of this hotline is to deliver in-the-moment counseling. It is available 24/7, 365 days a year, and it's staffed by licensed mental health professionals. It's free and confidential, and it can be used an unlimited amount of times. And really what this service is designed to do is to help a farmer get through a crisis. And it is interesting, when we launched this service, we had kind of envisioned that this might be something that a farmer might call in the middle of the night or late in the evening. And interestingly, so far, it hasn't really been used that way. When tracking our call volume and times, really the most popular call times have been in the mid-morning, which is kind of reassuring. And we're glad to see that farmers are using this, maybe when they have time in between chores for somebody to chat with. And this service is really not designed to deliver ongoing treatment. Again, it's really built to get through that immediate crisis, and then it will refer farmers to other resources if the need becomes ongoing. So having said all that, then what we also developed is we contracted with a licensed mental health professional based in rural Wisconsin who is very familiar with the farming industry and has other farm clients to be our dedicated telecounselor, is what we're calling this. And the telecounseling service can be reached by request, and you can get it by either calling our Farm Center helpline or calling that 24/7 hotline, Farmer Wellness Hotline that I had up on the previous slide. And for this service, a farmer would actually schedule appointments. So this would be more of an ongoing treatment plan or service plan. But what really makes this service very unique and valuable is its flexibility. Sessions can be delivered over the phone or over the web using video calling platforms such as Zoom. So super handy, super convenient. A farmer has much more control over the time of the appointment, and also has total control over the location. It can be done over the phone, or it could be done right from the comfort from your own home, using a computer and an internet connection. And so this program is designed to increase the affordability of services for farmers, because it is free and confidential, and the sessions are unlimited. And then also it's designed to reduce that barrier of acceptability, because a farmer can attend this confidentially if they choose, and also the accessibility. We believe this service makes it so much easier for farmers to attend because they don't have to drive into town to actually physically be at an appointment. So this is a service we're really excited about. Jessica, who we work with now for 11 months, has been just fantastic. And again, she is based out of Outagamie County. So she's very familiar with rural Wisconsin and has several different farm clients that she's working with. So she really helps us deliver service in a way that is very relatable to the farmers that we aim to serve. The last counseling service that I wanted to cover in our presentation today is kind of interesting in that this is not new programming per se. This program has actually been available through the Wisconsin Farm Center for over 10 years. It just previously had been funded by small grants and donations, and that made it very difficult for us to make it available to a lot of farmers in the state. And when we were funded in the last biennial budget, it allowed us to really grow this program and help promote it more. And what the program is designed to do is it will help farmers reduce the cost of ongoing scheduled in-person counseling. And so what the program does is you can call the Wisconsin Farm Center and talk to me or one of my staff, and we're able to issue counseling vouchers, we call them. And a counseling voucher can be used as a form of payment for any counseling provider that's in our network. And so we maintain a network of approved counseling providers throughout the state of Wisconsin, and they will accept vouchers as a form of payment. So this program will cover 100% of the counseling costs for typically 3 to 6 counseling sessions for Wisconsin farmers. And it's really designed to deliver that in-person, that face-to-face conversation that some farmers still crave. It allows farmers to build a relationship more intimately with their therapist because it is delivered in person. And again, it's designed to help farmers get them through that crisis by giving them someone to help. And in the middle of designing some of the new program offers, we made a concerted effort to increase the number of participating providers in our network. And I'm really pleased to say through the work of several on the team, we've almost doubled the number of participating providers over the last 12 months. We now have over 200 participating providers in this program, and we're in over 60 of the 72 Wisconsin counties. And this program has been just a tremendous success in our book. It has grown steadily over the last 10 years. And it makes us really believe in investing energy to try to improve awareness of what help is out there. Because what we saw, as more and more people found out about this programming, more people took advantage. And so that's why we love to do webinars and presentations and sessions like today, just to let farmers know that we're out there and that help is out there. Because typically what we've seen is when farmers learn about our services, they're more likely to take advantage. In this next slide, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this is just a visual of our counselor coverage in the state of Wisconsin. So again, we're very confident if a farmer comes to the farm center and is interested in taking advantage of the counseling voucher program, we can put them in contact with a provider in their area that can deliver in-person counseling sessions without having too much of a drive, and that's certainly the hope. One other new initiative that we would have launched in February of 2021, so this is very, very new programming, is we have developed these farmer online support groups. And the original plan had us doing 2 to 3 a month. And the idea was to offer one group specifically for farmers and another group specifically for farm couples. And the farm couples group, was designed to try to bring light and better manage some of those interpersonal dynamics and conflicts that we talked about. And these groups are held online via Zoom, and they are led by a peer leader. And so when we say peer leader, that's another farmer that has been trained to lead and facilitate an online support group. And actually, several of the peer leaders we're working with, like Brittany Olsen-Stotts and Randy Roker, who I think you both heard from both of them in session 1 in this webinar series, work with us on this. And then Jessica, our contracted telecounselor who we talked about previously, she also works as a mediator and facilitator for these online support groups as well. So when you join an online support group, you're going to get the chance to work with a trained farmer similar to yourself that is trained on facilitation, and then also a licensed mental health professional. So we really like that combination and that balance we're able to deliver in these groups, in the way that you have somebody from a farm background, familiar with farm culture, familiar with the farming way of life, willing to talk about mental health challenges, but then also a licensed mental health professional that's very familiar with the science, with the research, the new trends in how therapy is delivered. So a really, really nice balance in our opinion. And what we found is we've been, to be very candid and honest, we've been disappointed in participation. And that could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe we didn't get the word out enough. Farmers are busy. Maybe they don't have time, or they don't feel like they have time. But what we have heard from those that have chose to participate is that the conversations have been incredibly valuable. So this is an area that we're currently evaluating. I'm not sure that we will necessarily continue with 2 sessions per month. Maybe in the future we go to 1 session a month. But it's something that we're going to look at and evaluate. And I would just encourage you to go to the website, do a little research on these. And if it's something that you are interested in or you like the idea of and you just haven't decided to attend yet, I would really encourage you to. Because when we get higher participation rates, the conversations are better, more people are likely to join, and it's much easier for us to justify continuing the programming. One thing that was launched in summer of last year, and this is part of our Farm Center evolution of services as we continue to try to do our best to embrace technology, is about a year ago, we launched the Rural Realities podcast. And this podcast is focused on helping farmers tap into their resilient nature by presenting advice from experts that can help reduce stress, improve a farm's financial situation, and many more. And I really like the slide that's in front of you. You can see a variety of the barriers and challenges we've talked about are addressed in these podcasts. And I've listened to them all, and I'll tell you, the content in my mind, they call it evergreen content. I think you can listen to these, a year ago. You can listen to it again a year later. It is not content that is dated. These podcasts teach you a variety of tactical things you can implement in your daily life. So really, really great topics covered so far. And I would encourage anyone to go to the Farm Center website and look at the catalog of podcasts. And what's cool with the podcast is you can listen to it while you're driving on the tractor, while you're out in the barnyard chasing in cows. It's much easier, to consume this content when you can listen to it while you're on the tractor or driving back and forth, from running errands. So, one that I see on the slide is, breaking the stigma on mental health. We talked about that, making it more acceptable. Discussing the Undiscussable by Elaine Fries, who's a farm transition specialist. That one is specifically designed to help farm families have those difficult conversations with each other. Elaine did another one on farm transfers, which we talked about. Paul Dittman at Compeer did one on farm financials. So really, really nice catalog built with a variety of content, I think, that can be useful to any farmer as they run their business day to day. Wanted to show just a couple slides on some future programming ideas that we have. One thing that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation is one of the most stressful phases in a farm's life cycle is what to do post-farming. And to help better educate farmers on how to make that change, we are in the process of developing what we call as a job hunting workbook for farmers. And it's going to be a guide that helps farmers identify their skills that they can bring to different employers, make decisions, set goals, and then actually apply to jobs. The one thing that we hear time and time again is farmers have incredible skills. They have valuable experiences, they're disciplined, they have a work ethic, they're handy. A lot of times what we see is farmers just may not have ever interviewed or applied for a job before in their career. You know, they've been an entrepreneur their whole life. And so really what we're trying to design with this piece is a resource that can help farmers navigate that job application process, you know, that we all know has become more digital in recent years. And another idea that we look to bring to Wisconsin farmers down the road is career coaching vouchers. We have just been so pleased with the growth of the counseling voucher program that we believe we can model something off that idea and call it or title it a career coaching program. So really this idea is very much in its infancy, but what we would be looking to bring to Wisconsin farmers is a voucher system that could cover the cost of an appointment with a career coach. And that career coach could actually deliver professional service to help that farmer create a resume, write a cover letter, and really explore that transferable skills and appropriate jobs for he or she to target. And we're in the process of evaluating this idea. And, you know, we've talked to several outfits in the state that provide these kind of services. And something that they brought up to us is they even are able to offer like mock interviews, which we think could be tremendously valuable to a farmer, you know, doing a job interview maybe for the first time in their career. So no immediate action for you all to take on this one. Again, this is something to kind of be excited about down the road, but we're looking forward to putting some elbow grease behind this idea and bringing it to Wisconsin here in upcoming months and years. I think in our original slide where we talked about our program goals, one of the things we really emphasized was partnering with collaborators. And so this is something at DADCAP that we are partnering on, and it's called the Farm Ranch Stress Assistance Network. And that's a network aimed at connecting farmers and ranchers and other ag occupations to stress assistance programs. And so what we were able to do is we were able to partner with several states in what we titled our North Central region and apply for federal U.S. Department of Agriculture funding through the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. That NIFA is the acronym, which you may or may not have seen before. And anyway, they have these farm and ranch stress assistance grant program. And so we were able to apply for 3-year funding as a part of the North Central region. And each state has their own project that they'll bring for their constituents and stakeholders. And the Wisconsin project is being led by UW Extension. So this is an example of new programming that we're involved with and that we are partners with UW Extension on. And so you can look for several different initiatives and program ideas to come out of this initiative in years to come. I think in year one, the team has been really focused on managing focus groups and trying to get a better handle on what the unique needs are of farmers when we think about farm assistance programming. And really my call to action for you all today is just recently, actually. So this is like hot off the press. I think maybe May was the first issue, But the team that's involved with this programming, this Wisconsin project, has developed a monthly newsletter, and it's titled the Resilient Farms and Families Newsletter. And it's available monthly through email, very nicely put together email, and really easy to consume. And if you're interested, you can register for this monthly newsletter, and this will be a great way for you to be kept up to speed on what new initiatives, programs, and services will come out of this federally funded program work. So we're real excited about this partnership with UW Extension and also with the other North Central states that we're partnering with for this funding. And we would really encourage anyone that's interested on the call today to subscribe to this newsletter. Again, we think it's going to be a great way for us to try to reduce that barrier of awareness that we talked about at the beginning of our presentation, make people more aware, that help is out there, and let them know where they can go to find it. So I'm just really wrapping up now. And so I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to speak to you all today. I think we've got probably about 10 minutes for any questions you might have. Otherwise, I know Morgan has several announcements to make, but before I turn it back over to her, I just wanted to, again, remind you of our Farm Center helpline. That 800 number is on the slide. We also have our Farm Center at wisconsin.gov email, which is monitored daily. So you're welcome to email me and my team there. And then also I wanted to point out that Wisconsin Farmer Wellness Hotline one more time. Again, you can call that number for in-the-moment counseling and help to get through a crisis, or if you just need someone to talk to, or you can also use that number to reach our telecounselor, so you can make a scheduled telecounseling appointment. In that 800 number, the 2474 number for the Farm Center, you can also call that number for the telecounseling program, as well as that long-standing counseling voucher program that is available for in-person counseling. And I would just really like to wrap up now. I want to say thank you for everyone taking the time to listen on this important topic. And I really believe this is a tremendously important topic for all of Wisconsin farmers and really our ag industry as a whole. And even if you can, think about it even bigger picture, it's really important to Wisconsin consumers and really even the consumers in the world. Wisconsin is an incredible farming state. Farming is in our roots, it's in our history, and it's really foundational to the economic activity in our state. And it's just so important that we have healthy, productive farmers for the whole industry, and again, for the consumers, not only in our state, but also in our country and really in the world. When you think about all the Wisconsin dairy products, that get consumed here and also exported nationally and globally. So I'm going to turn it back over to Morgan. And again, just thanks for this opportunity, and really enjoyed working with you all today.
Dan, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, so just a quick comment that I'd like to make, Joe Brager. I was very impressed here in your talk. I mean, it doesn't sound like a big thing, but I'm going to humble myself a little bit by telling you of an experience I had. When you talked about helping farmers maybe do a job application, that can be an incredibly daunting experience when you're 54 years old and you've never filled one out in your life. I couldn't believe how, I would say last year as president, I thought, what do I got to fill out this job application for? I've already got the job. But it's awful humbling when, you don't have a big list of, talk to this employer, that employer, and now you sit there and reflect on your life when you've done this the whole time, and you ask yourself, what did I do? How do I qualify? How do I label that? I have a ton of knowledge with nothing to show. So I'm glad that you include some of that in, because that can be, and I'm not the first person. Once I've talked to others, they've had similar experiences when you get up into these ages.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I appreciate you bringing that up. I think there is a tremendous amount of potential in this area, and so I think it's now on us to do the work to kind of bring it to life and make it a reality. But I think the idea and the concept is very strong, and I really appreciate you reinforcing that. So thanks for speaking up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. And also thank you, Dan, for your presentation. And so we've already had one comment come in, but I just wanted to open up the floor for any questions. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat box or raise your hand to be called on, and I'll be happy to call on you. While we're waiting for some of that to come in, just a few announcements. I just want to thank you for attending today's webinar and helping raise awareness about mental health and the resources available to farmers. And just as a reminder, this video is going to be available on YouTube this afternoon. And also we'll be announcing the Heroes of Hope finalists on Friday. So again, thank you so much. And now I will open it up for any questions that we have. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions so far. If you've got a question, absolutely put it into the chat box or raise your hand so I can call on you.
I would have one, fill in this time for a minute. You know, some of the stories got to be, and this may be more of a personal nature for you guys, but some of the stories got to be extremely tough. And oftentimes people come to you. I got a little bit of experience with that at the time when it's almost too far gone. So you got the first message is to reach out early, but then how do you cope with it? How do you all deal with the stress that someone else is now laying onto your life? Because you're trying to help them, but you're hearing that, and it's got to be limited in what you can do at the end of the day. So how do you manage through those things?
Yeah, that is a fantastic comment, and it's very insightful, and it really hits close to home. I mean, there's a couple topics you touched on there. You know, on a positive note, I think the point you made of reaching out early is just critical. If you talk to the folks on my team, I think that's the number one recommendation that they would have is, I think the tendency historically is people come to the farm center when they're out of other options. And at that point, at times we're somewhat limited in our options on what we can even deliver. And so, you know, that's why that awareness piece that we talked about is just so important. And it's really on us to do more webinars, you know, do more newsletters, and just, you know, work with the local extension agents to get out there in the communities and build relationships and make people feel comfortable coming to us earlier. So I think that's kind of on us to continue to work on, because I think you're right, Joe. I mean, we can do a lot more positive work when we connect with farmers earlier and more proactively. The question you have about coping, you know, that's a little bit, you know, we don't have a formal approach for how we help our staff deal with that. So it's a little bit managed individual to individual. The interesting thing when you bring that up is when I joined the farm center, I did staff interviews just to get to know them. And the one common thing that I saw in all the staff, and I think it's what makes them so successful, is empathy. And I think they're really good. They all have worked with farmers in their careers, and they all take a ton of pride in delivering customer service. They will listen to a farmer for 45 minutes, and it's because they care. You know, they care and they want to help. And they take pride, you know, really what drives them and helps them get up in the morning is that opportunity to be there for another farmer and to help another farmer. And so, you know, I think what the team generally uses it for coping is to just have realistic expectations. You have to take pride in the small wins. You're not going to win every one. You're not going to save every client, and you have to have realistic expectations in that. But then I think, when you have one of those victories, I think you got to celebrate it and take pride in it, and really, keep it there for that rainy day when the days get really tough. I know recently one of my team members had emailed, and through some help that he had with a farmer, they had made a presentation to the lender that had it been accepted, and it was to change the terms of the loan, restructure the debt. Anyway, they were able to avoid a bankruptcy that they thought might be, an absolute something they would be an unavoidable consequence was a bankruptcy was potentially on the table, and they were able to avoid it. And I think you really have to focus on those victories. They're not going to be every one, but when you have them, make sure to celebrate them, take pride in them, and reflect on them when the days are tougher. So I'm sorry, Joe, that was a rambly answer, but I tell you, it was just a fantastic question, and I wanted to do my best to cover all the different layers that you touched on. So thank you for the question.
Well, thank you, and God bless you all for what you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Joe, for the question. And I just wanted to follow up on something too. You talked about self-care as being, the friend and the helper of someone who's going through a mental health challenge. And actually, prior to being a public information officer, I was the Farmer Mental Health limited term employee. So I got to have a lot of those, tough conversations. And something that I found to be extremely helpful is kind of what Dan implied, is relying on your teammates to lift you up to whenever you need it. But also there's some other self-care coping mechanisms that you can have in place as well, like taking a walk, taking a break, walking away from the computer, play a game, watch a fun TV show. I mean, whatever brings you joy at the end of the day is something you have to give yourself. Because if you aren't taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of others as well. So just wanted to reemphasize the importance of self-care and doing what you enjoy to bring happiness to your life, especially when you're having those tough conversations. So thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any others in the chat box. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, we will wrap it up then. I apologize. We went 3 minutes over the time limit, but I thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope you will share these resources with anyone that needs it. So have a great Wednesday.
Yep. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.